This is the week of Kingdom Hearts 3, the long-awaited sequel that brings Disney's most popular cartoons face to face with Final Fantasy. With Mickey Mouse once again headlining games, I wanted to take a look back at some of his earlier adventures. Specifically, I want to talk about Sega's Illusion series, which included 4 games that spanned 3 different systems. Turn back now if you don't want to know what happens next, because today we're going to spoil the stories and endings for Castle of Illusion, Land of Illusion, World of Illusion, and Legend of Illusion. This is Game Over, the early years. Despite being the most popular animated character of all time, Mickey Mouse got short shrift from video game developers. His early adventures included teaching kids outdated facts about space and teaming up with Minnie in the terrible Mickey Mouse-capade. But Sega knew what to do with everybody's favorite rodent, and the result was a series of 4 incredible 2D platformers that both understood Mickey's incredible charm and celebrated Disney's imaginative worlds. The first game in the series is Castle of Illusion, which takes place in Vera City, where life is joyful and everybody lives in peace. Well, not everybody, because the witch Mizrabel is jealous of Minnie's beauty and decides to kidnap her. The good-natured Mickey is forced to chase after them and confront the, wait for it, Castle of Illusion. So get this, Mizrabel's plan is to not only kidnap Minnie, which would be bad enough, but to use her powers to actually look like Mickey's helpless girlfriend. And to make matters worse, she's gonna make Minnie look like that ugly old hag Mizrabel. Wait, is this where John Woo got the idea for Face Off? Unfortunately, the solution isn't as simple as twisting the knife, because Mickey is gonna need to travel into a bunch of different rooms to collect the 7 gems of the rainbow. This means going through a bunch of levels with different themes. There's a forest, a toy room, the mines, and a delicious stage where everything is made out of desserts. Long story short, Mickey collects the 7 gems and uses them to create a bridge to Mizrabel. It's here where we see the little old lady turn into a model-esque villain with more than a passing resemblance to Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty. With Minnie helpless in a bubble, Mickey puts everything he has into defeating the evil old witch and eventually comes out on top. Here's what happens next. So this is one of the few endings where not only does everything work out in the end, but the main villain actually ends up giving the triumphant heroes a lift back home. I also like this bit here where Mickey and Minnie are dancing in celebration. It's such a simple animation, but it's memorable. I mean, when I think of Mickey and Minnie's undying love, this is actually the first thing that comes to mind. I'm not kidding. Maybe we should just move on. 2 years after introducing Genesis owners to Mizrabel and her Castle of Illusion, Mickey returns with a brand new adventure called World of Illusion. And best of all, he wasn't alone. This 1992 platformer brought in Donald Duck, who had just starred in his own 16-bit game just 1 year earlier. Despite what it sounds like, World of Illusion is not directly connected to the events of the first game. You won't find Mizrabel or the 7 gems of the rainbow because this is a game all about magic. In this game, Mickey and Donald are a pair of magicians who spend each night practicing their act. After being startled by the old smoke monster in a top hat routine, Donald discovers a weird face statue right behind the curtain. He steps inside, naturally, and suddenly disappears. This confuses Mickey, but not enough to stop him from also stepping into the creepy face statue. The two friends are magically transported to the world of illusion, where an evil magician explains that they'll need to defeat him in order to find a way out. Much like the first game, the idea is to survive a challenging 2D stage and then pick up an item that you'll use to defeat the evil magician. In this case, the item is a piece of an ancient manuscript describing great magic. Mickey and Donald will need to run and jump through the clouds, underwater, past a cave, into the toy room, through a forest, over an area made up entirely of desserts, and wait, didn't we cover all this in the first game? Anyway, we fight past a bunch of extras from Alice in Wonderland and discover that the evil magician is none other than Pete. But don't worry, Mickey's got this. He waves his cape a few times at Pete and, well, here's what happens next. I like this ending a lot. Once again, it's simple, but there's quite a bit going on here. We get that great bit where Mickey and Donald are confused after being spit back out of that creepy face statue portal thing. And then we finally get to see them perform magic, and it's in front of some of our favorite Disney characters like Goofy, Minnie, Pluto, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. And then the two friends walk home. Oh, that reminds me, my favorite part is coming up. Just gonna need to wait for it. Actually, let's fast forward to it. Yeah, that's the stuff. Alright, let's move on. I guess that brings us to Land of Illusion, which launched on both the Sega Master System and Game Gear in 1993. This is one of those games that has an incredible introduction, but just kinda whiffs it when it comes to the ending. Actually, this whole game has a really cool story filled with tons of dialogue, which makes the almost non-existent ending that much more frustrating. This is the story of what happens when Mickey falls asleep while reading old fairy tales. He's apparently transported to a dark and gloomy village where all the townspeople are played by his real-life friends. He tracks down one of these villagers and learns that an evil phantom has stolen all of the crystals and in turn removed any of the good magic from the world. In its place is bad magic, which has brought doom and gloom into the once prosperous village. Maybe if a certain mouse can find his way to the castle in the clouds, he'll be able to defeat the evil phantom and bring good magic back to the world. I know there's a fun 2D platformer connected to all this story, but I don't think you realize just how much dialogue is in this game. Mickey meets up with all kinds of people, and they all have a ton to say. In fact, a good 10 minutes of this game is just people telling Mickey where to go next and why it's dangerous. He also saves his friends and falls for a fetching young female mouse with a magic bean to give him. That's not an innuendo. This routes a way up to the clouds, but Mickey still needs a little help from King Donald in order to find a boat that'll take him to the final boss. It's here where the incredibly helpful mouse climbs the castle and goes head to head with the evil phantom that stole all the magic crystals. He spins around and throws fireballs, but Mickey knows that he can beat just about any boss with a few well-placed butt stomps. Here's what happens next. Yep, that's it. I mean, we get to see the cast of characters listed out, but the 7-second smooch is all we get. This game spent 10 solid minutes setting everything up, and we don't even get to see Mickey wake up from his dream. You know what? This ending sucks. Let's just move on. Much like Sega's last 8-bit effort, Legend of Illusion is heavy on story. In fact, both Land and Legend have significantly more cinemas than either of their 16-bit counterparts. This was the final game in Sega's Illusion series, and the good news is that it has a significantly better ending. You'll see what I mean. So Legend of Illusion is seemingly set during the medieval days and takes place in the kingdom of Pete. Unfortunately, Pete's kingdom has been cursed, and the only way to save the townspeople from certain death is to go on an epic adventure and retrieve the legendary Water of Life. But Pete isn't the adventuring type, so instead of doing it himself, he hatches a plot to make somebody else the honorary king, let them go off on the adventure, and then snatch power once everything is back to normal. In this scenario, his mark is Mickey Mouse, who is a lowly laundry boy who Pete seems to think is a simpleton. But Mickey is a lot craftier than the king realizes. And now with the crown in his possession, he decides to go out on an adventure in order to see if he can both save the world and find a more appropriate ruler. While Mickey spends most of his time trying to track down Goofy and find those missing keys, Pete is slowly starting to realize that he may never get that crown back. Apparently, there's an obscure rule where the person who finds the Water of Life and brings it back will be the king for the rest of time. Realizing his mistake, Pete sets out to thwart Mickey and get the Water of Life first. Okay, long story short, if Mickey can save the tree in the Garden of Illusion, then he'll be able to save the kingdom. But this involves talking to a Sphinx, finding those aforementioned keys, jumping into the realm of illusion, and fighting the Sorcerer of Darkness. Okay, so Mickey does all that and returns home to find Pete in a less than charitable mood. He immediately orders his guards to arrest Mickey for impersonating the king. But don't worry, because Goofy and Donald have something to say about that. Pete gets violent after being reminded of the ancient rule that anybody who returns with the Water of Life will become the ruler, so they fight. This is a pretty simple battle where Pete throws bombs and Mickey tosses them back. Here's what happens next. Okay, so here's the problem I have with this ending. Goofy's kingdom is called Goofstein, and Donald's is Duckingham Palace. But the renamed Kingdom of Mickey is just Kingdom of Mickey? What, it doesn't get a cool name like Mickeyburg or Mouseville? Guys, that's just lazy writing. Anyway, I like this ending. In fact, I like this entire story. The motivations, for as dumb as they are, actually make a lot of sense. It's that cartoon logic that's just silly enough to work. One thing I appreciate is how the fireworks over the castle help to tie this final game in the series in with the very first game. And is it my imagination, or does Legend of Illusion perfectly set everything up for Kingdom Hearts? Maybe there's something to that. Nah. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Game Over, the early years. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new episodes every Monday. Now, here's the question I have for you. What's your favorite game with Mickey Mouse? Doesn't have to star Mickey, but he does need to show up somewhere. Let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, I'm currently hard at work on a bunch of new reviews and quizzes, so I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,